it was a real surprise to get, numbers like that. This would be by far the busiest winter that Bold has ever had. Didn't know what to make of it because that's not what we were drilling for. We were looking for gold up there.
You've discovered rare earth oxides, which sounds like quite a game changer.
55 meters of rare earths. We sent it off to the lab, and the results came back with a little over 1,000 ppm rare earths.
Does this change Burchell from being a precious metals project to something a bit bigger?
It's very much still a gold, copper, zinc project as well. If the access is still good, and we would think it's probably drill ready.
Welcome back to the Investing Money and Markets podcast, and this week we're catching up with Bruce MacLachlan from Bold Ventures. Bruce has been on the podcast before, but there's been a lot of news with the company since we last spoke to him when he was at the PDAC conference in Canada. So welcome back on the podcast, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
So since we last spoke, you guys have been quite busy, I've noticed, and there's a number of major news items out from Bold recently in the last couple of weeks. I wanted to speak initially about your discoveries at Traxxin, your Traxxin project, where you recently had some very decent intersections with gold. Can you give us a quick overview of what you found there?
Yeah, we drilled 2 holes at Traxxin this past winter, early spring, and the second hole encountered 2.95 meters of 100 grams. We had numerous specks of EG, and what it looks like right now is that we may have extended the main zone further east from some previous drilling that was carried out. And further downhole, we had some weaker anomalies, and that seems to correlate with an IP anomaly, which has never really been followed up or has never been drilled. So it's really exciting to have the visible gold and these anomalies further downhole. So we're going to follow up. Coleman, the VP, and I of exploration were out there a few days ago. We are going to get a backhoe in there and strip a long strike along the zone, try and follow it out, do some channel sampling, wash it off, and then come back in with a series of short holes and just sort of nail it along, just bang, 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 and see what that brings. So that's the plan there. In the coming, I'm going to say weeks or month or two.
Do you think that's sort of provoked a rethink of the geology on the project for you guys?
Well, several years ago, just after Bold acquired the ground, we went in there and had a look at some of the mechanical stripping, the trenching that had been done by the previous operator, and we didn't think that the stripping had gone far enough east. So we brought a backhoe in there, and sure enough, we exposed a few meters at least of quartz veining in sheared rock, sulfides, the whole bit. So that we think that is probably what we drilled recently with the visible gold, because we had numbers in the channel samples when we extended the old trench up to 8 grams. So we tried to tie in some of the historical drilling from the previous operator, but we couldn't find the casings. Looks like they may have been damaged or run over by machinery or something. So we're trying to fit all this now back together. So it's we just went out there with a measuring tape and tried to make things fit. So, yeah.
And does this really? I guess this discovery gives you a lot more confidence about planning the next phase of exploration on the site this summer.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. When we were out there a few days ago, we don't think we could probably strip it with a backhoe further south along strike because the topography drops off into a swamp. But we definitely can follow it out to the north along strike. And if we could expose 50 or 100 meters of this zone along strike, it would be amazing. It's not to say that we think it does continue to the south, but I don't think we can strip it off because, like I said, the ground falls off into swampy ground. So.
Oh, understood. Would you say this is the sort of the shallowest intersection of the vein to date that you've been able to achieve there?
Yeah, again, we're having a bit of trouble trying to correlate some of the historical drilling, because when we went out there the other day, like I said, we couldn't find a couple of casings from the previous operators. So we're sort of relying on, how accurate was their GPS coordinates on their collars.
Hmm.
So I think, once we strip it off along strike, we come in, we drill several more holes, both sort of beside the current hole with VG and below it. We'll have a lot better handle on, what the veining and the shear zone is doing.
Interesting. So we could potentially have some more interesting results from Traxxin later on this year.
Well, the discovery sample, which ran 1,280 grams, that would be north of the current VG. So if and I've actually held a piece of that, discovery outcrop. So if what we've found, it looks like what we found is probably a long strike to the south of the discovery. So yeah, it would really open the zone up.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. And I mean, this is not the only news that's been coming out from you over the last month or so. The other thing which we have already covered on the site, but I wanted to talk about, was the rare earth element discovery at the Burchell project as well, where you've discovered rare earth oxides, which sounds like quite a game changer for that project.
Yeah, we drilled a series of holes up to the northwest corner of Burchell, and we were testing gold in soil anomalies. And we had about 45 meters of overburden in the hole. We intersected the bedrock, and we shut the hole down about 110 meters down hole, because we figured that we were out of the right rocks for gold. We have an XRF machine here, and we zapped several samples, and we were getting these rare earths on the XRF. So we didn't know what to make of it, because that's not what we were drilling for. We were looking for gold up there. But anyway, we sent it off to the lab, and the results came back with a little over 1,000 ppm rare earths, and we ended in anomalous rare earths, because, like I said, when we shut the hole down, we shut it down because we thought we were out of the right rocks for gold. We didn't get any gold in that hole, but so it was a real surprise to get numbers like that over such a great length. We had 55 meters of rare earths.
And was this just completely out of left field? You weren't expecting this?
100%. There's a cyanide body there that's about 6 kilometers. It's sort of an oval-shaped body, about 6 kilometers long, east-west. And to the best of our knowledge, nobody's ever looked for rare earths there. It was a complete surprise. We were just blown away when we got the results from the lab.
Well, that's fantastic. And was it the assay numbers, or was it the geological setting that have got you most excited about this?
I would say it's both. And the thing too is, like I said, we ended in the anomalous numbers. Like the last sample in the hole was still anomalous in rare earths. So the thing to do now would be to go back and deepen that hole and just see, where does it end? And with the XRF, we'll be able to test it. I don't know how far we'd have to drill to get out of it, but what we've done in the short term, though, we've gone out. A couple of guys have gone out there prospecting along strike to the east. There's a lot less overburden out there than in the west. So, and I was personally out there a couple of times recently, and you can see these cyanide rocks, the same rocks that are hosting the rare earths. You can see them along strike, a few kilometers even away. So the government had them mapped. So we've gone back and we've collected grab samples from those outcrops, and they're into the lab already.
So does this change Burchell from being a precious metals project to something a bit bigger?
It's definitely something bigger. It still is a gold project. It's also a copper zinc project. in the drilling from early winter, we intersected gold in the 111 zone, we call it, where we did all the stripping last year, as well as copper and zinc. So we had 0.42 grams gold over 19 meters, 0.18% copper over 9, and 0.33 over 19 meters of zinc. So it's very much still a gold, copper, zinc project as well. But now you throw in these rare earths, and it's very early days with the rare earths. Like I said, we really don't know what to make of it, but it's pretty encouraging.
Well, I guess from a North American perspective, any evidence of rare earths potentially at scale, that's definitely exciting for your shareholders.
Well, it's a hell of a start. I mean, those numbers are not necessarily economic, but 29% were the rare earths were magnetic. So that's telling us they're the heavy rare earths, which is really what the world wants. You want those heavy rare earths. So.
And in terms of the next 12 months there on Burchell, are you hoping to outline a sizable system there?
Yeah, what we'll do in the short term, we'll do more prospecting along strike. That hole, like I said, will have to be deepened, and then we'll see where we go from there, because there's a lot of overburden where we drilled that hole. Like I said, it was like 45 meters or so. It's not to say you can't drill through that. We did, but we initially had a smaller drill there, and they were having trouble getting through the overburden. So what we did is we hired another drill company and they came in. It wasn't a problem. So yeah, we'll follow that out. We've still got gold and copper and zinc targets to follow up, both from last fall's stripping and from this year's drilling at the 111 zone. So we've got our hands full.
Yeah, it's going to keep you very busy over the next few months.
This would be by far the busiest winter that Bold has ever had. We drilled 3 properties this winter, so and we did some geophysics in Quebec, so we'll talk about that more in a minute. But yeah.
Well, I was going to actually ask you also about what's happening with the Joutel property as well, because I know we haven't touched on that, but that's something you guys are also working on.
So a couple things with Joutel. Back in the winter, 6 of the claims at Joutel were held by Emerald Geological Services, and Emerald is a private company owned by Coleman Robertson, our VP of Exploration, and myself. So Bold bought those claims a few months ago. They're now, the property is 100% owned by Bold. And those 6 claims, I'll backtrack here a little bit. In 2011, Bold had a large piece of ground there. And I worked it for Bold back in 2011, 2012. They didn't have the funds to carry out any drilling. It was just prospecting at the time. And the claims came open. So I called up David Graham, who's still our CEO, and said, "Are you going to, your claims are open. Are you going to restake them? What's your plan?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, would you mind if we stake them, our private company?" And he said, "No, go for it." So for the past, about 8-9 years, we've had those claims. So we sold them to Bold recently, a couple of months ago. And then a few months ago, we hired a geophysical company. They went in, they carried out an IP survey over these VTEM targets from 2011. And we've started receiving the data. We're just waiting for the final report from them. But it's helped better define, the early results have helped better define those VTEM targets from 2011. So, yeah, we're just waiting. Hopefully, we think the access, we're going to have that checked shortly. We had a couple of our guys, because when the IP survey was carried out, they went in by Skidoo a different way than we did years ago. So if the access is still good, and we would think it's probably drill ready.
Oh, very good. And is there anything else you can update us on with Bold at the moment?
Yeah, another thing is we have an OTC over-the-counter listing now in the States. That happened about 2 months ago. So we can, the Americans can now trade the stock. Simple as BVLDF. And we're gonna be going down to the States in a couple of months at some of the mining conferences and get the word out. So yeah, right now we're hoping to go to New Orleans in September, Denver in late October, and then we'll be over to the UK for the Northern Miner and Mines and Money conference as well. We'll be there as well. So we're going to have a busy fall with conferences and a busy summer and fall with field work and following up on all these good results. So yeah. One other thing is we drilled our Wilcorp property this past winter. The results are starting to trickle, and the labs have been swamped. So it's slow getting results. But the other thing there is we optioned a property called Alcott. It's from some local prospectors in the area. So that ties on to our Wilcorp ground and gives us several more kilometers of strike length to the west. So our VP was out there a couple of days ago looking at the geology there. So, but it's very early days, but it does have some historical gold showings on the ground. So it'll make for a lot larger and nicer land package there. And finally, up in the Ring of Fire, they've started building the road after 20 years. That started in the past few weeks. So yeah.
So yeah, all systems go by.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but finally they started. So, yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to catching up with you on some of this activity later in the year, and also when you're over in London as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the podcast today, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks very much. We'll see you.
The content of this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. The views and opinions expressed by guests or hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the armchair trader. Investments can go up and down in value, and you may not get back the amount you originally invested. Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future results. We do not provide any personal investment, tax, or legal advice. Always do your own research or seek independent professional advice before making any financial decisions. The Armchair Trader is a media company and is not authorized or regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.